Actually, I guess I should put 8, huh?
Where's Dempsey?
He's here.
Benny,
This is my turn.
Jill, y'all ready?
I guess we gotta say regarding the item numbers. 'Cause I don't even know
Call
what
to
item-
order the June 10th, 2019 Transportation Committee meeting. All members are present.
Yeah, I think it's 8.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert is going to handle the invocation, followed by the pledge.
Please stand. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Dear Lord, thank you for watching over the parish, the recent tornadoes. Please get everyone back to comfort and back in their homes. Lord, we ask you for strength and wisdom for our transportation needs. We ask all these things in your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If anybody would like to make a comment, we have a 3-minute comment period. Turn in your red or green speaker cards on the item that you'd like to speak on. Okay. I don't have anything to add to the committee chairman's report. Moving on to item number, 5, acceptance of the minutes of the May 6, 2019 meeting as written.
Motion.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second motion by Councilman Dawson and a second by Councilman Todd Lambert. No objections, so moved. Moving on to item number 6, discussion for easing traffic congestion around certain school board properties. Councilman Dempsey Lambert, I'll let you lead this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to call up Mr. Chad and the president of the school board, Mr. Kleinpeter. We have identified, and I know we've all heard of all of the Parker Road, Henderson Bayou, Highway 73 at Dutchtown High School with the traffic congestion that we have and some serious problems. Anything that we can do, and we need to put this on a fast track, board approval from school board, whatever we need to do on some of these things, Mr. Chad and Mr. Kleinpeter, we'd definitely like some input. We all know that the school board has a lot of property, and we really need to get the car riders in the schools or somewhere where they're not blocking this traffic. So with that, I don't mean to put you on the hot seat, but we need some help. Thank you, Mr. Lynch.
Okay, I'll try to speak to the properties that you mentioned and then any others that you guys want to ask about. You mentioned Henderson Bayou. We are aware that traffic has been stacking up on Henderson Bayou in front of the school. We got the same call that you guys got. Not too long ago, there was some bad traffic congestion and some altercations on the street, that kind of thing. So we're looking at it too. I keep a book of the projects that we want to try to pursue to get funding for. And immediately after getting those calls, I added that one to my list of lists. In terms of how our funding works and what we can do on an annual basis quickly or do later, we can do small maintenance projects quickly, like you and I talked about possibly at the Galvez primary site, trying to get some traffic off the road. There's permanent ways to do that take a capital funding a fund like a bond issue for us. And there are ways to do that where it costs less, like gravel on the site or something like that. So Galvez primary, that's my intention, is to try to use some rocks that I have on site to try to extend the parent drop-off lane. We would do that as expeditiously as we could, but as the superintendent put it to me, we just have to try not to offset our funds that are allocated for education. But we do have a maintenance program, and rocks on the site I can probably pull off this year. The thought of doing something permanent out at the roadway, I would need a fund for, and that's what this list is for me. It's a list of school projects that we need. I also have a list of paving projects that we need. And what will happen is when our board starts taking the time to consider this list for the next, we just passed a 2016 bond that has the schools in it. It also has renovations, additions, roofing projects, paving projects. The next list that we do, I anticipate the board getting a chance to consider a list of paving projects, permanent type repairs, most of which that I have on my list are right in front of some of the sites you mentioned. So Galvez Primary right now, it looks like probably temporary gravel is what's in the cards until some bond fund comes up. At 73, behind Dutchtown High, not too long ago, we bought the property on the end of Cary Lane with the hopes of making a connection behind Dutchtown High to let traffic out the back. That project is in my list of paving projects that we want to pursue a fund for. But we did buy the property, which enables us to one day make the connection. We have since we bought the property, done some improvements on the site that got us all the way back there to the corner, but we haven't crossed the canal yet. I also got my wetlands approval. What I'm missing to finish that one out and make the connection is really just a fund to be able to cross the canal and extend the road and whatever road improvements are required. Because, when I go to make that connection, there'll probably be some traffic improvements required at 73. That could be anywhere from $500,000 to $750,000 project to make that road connection with the proper traffic improvements. So we don't have a fund on our annual budget for that, but we definitely have it in the list that I'm going to pursue.
Let me ask you something.
Yes.
And first of all, please introduce yourself. Chad
Okay,
Lynch, your
yeah.
position.
I'm the Director of Planning and Construction and Maintenance and Transportation for the Central Parish School Board. I'm a
And-
staff member.
Yes, and you've got President Taft with you.
Taft Klein, Peter, board member for Prairieville, Galvez area.
Thank you. I just want the public that's watching this
Oh,
on TV to know
thank you.
who they're talking to.
Okay,
When you talk about bringing in a fund, though, does that mean we have to wait for another bond for this?
absolutely. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, sir. The school board's annual budget is made of salaries, benefits, insurance, and some money for maintenance, like maintenance of schools and technology, some dedicated funds. But there's no dedicated fund for road improvements or new schools. We have to, when we do capital improvements projects, we have to put those on a list, get it passed, and that's how we spend the big dollars, is through a bond sale.
Councilman Johnson, I'll let Councilman, but if you've got more to say also.
Chad, you talked about a list, and I know you were kind of going down it. Do you have a list available or something that we can kind of take a look at? Because I think we all have some issues in most of our districts with schools that have issues with parents that are dropping or picking up kids being on the roadways and stuff like that. In my area, Central Primary and so forth, is a real big issue. It's a hazard. I mean, people are trying to go around them, and whether they're in the turn lane or whatever, there's still a lot of issues, and it's a dangerous situation, really.
I have a staff assessment. For instance, like Central Primary, we built a left turn lane in front of Central Primary. And we do occasionally get calls. We also, in Central Primary, built a very long stack-up line on the site. Part of the problem is the number of people that choose to not ride the bus. They choose to get in that line. The bus would be, if everybody got on the bus, we'd probably have less cars stacked out there. But if you look at what we did at Central Primary, we did build a turn lane when we built the school. It was probably within 3 years of building the school. We built that turn lane at Central Primary. But when we opened the school, we also had the stack-up space that went all the way to the back of the property. We bring the cars all the way to the back and out. So the sheer volume of cars that comes to these sites, it changes every year. It increases every year, and it becomes a bigger problem every year.
So I'll throw something out there, a risk of kicking an ant nest, so any kind of policy to try to control that, to where you can encourage people to use the bus as opposed to driving.
We definitely, it's a double-edged sword. We have not entertained a policy to encourage it. We provide the bus ride. We send the buses by the house. If people choose not to ride them, we assume it's for their own reasons, like need to get to work before the bus comes, that kind of thing. They don't want to leave their child unsupervised by the bus. So in staff discussions, we've talked about that, but it's not been to a board level that I can recall. So, but.
Thank you.
You mentioned the Parker Road site also. Parker Road, on this current bond list, we have a fund for laying out the master plan, site planning, and permitting, which is underway right now. We hired a firm that's laying out the site. That firm, once the site layout is complete, will approach all the permit agencies to look at things like the traffic volumes. We actually have a strategy on that site to try to minimize the traffic impact. The strategy involves, as we lay out the property, building a boulevard on the north side of the site and having most of our traffic directed in that direction as opposed to towards Parker Road. And so that one is being planned almost like a development where we lay out the property, look at the traffic drainage, and all the other permitting issues with all permit agencies. That's being done right now. So hopefully the outcome of that project will be a good site layout that addresses traffic and drainage and our sewer plants and things like that. We have to build a sewer plant on that one as well. But that plan is underway on that one. That one is funded. It's a funded plan to fund the design work and the permitting, and the fund has enough in it to do some construction. The actual construction that we do will depend on the outcome of that site planning. They might say it's best to build some roads first or best to build a sewer plant first. So we'll take the advice of our engineers on that planning process.
Well, hopefully your engineers will say it's best to build a road first, because Parker Road is extremely dangerous, and all the people that live along there, they literally can't always back out their driveways. So even if we can explore a gravel road along the length of Parker, that would run where I know we've talked about putting that road on the northern end of that property, even putting something in gravel for right now to help allow the people that live on Parker to get out in the mornings.
Yeah, I'll bring y'all's concerns. Everything that y'all tell me tonight, I'll bring them to a school board meeting. You got the board president with me. I'll bring them to the board meeting. But like y'all, I have 11 board members, each with their own priorities, and I'll bring them a list of lists and these things. But I will emphasize that councilmen asked for this, and that goes a long way. I mean, you guys represent a group of people, it's not one person asking this, it's a representative of a group. So I'll bring that to the board and share that with them.
Councilman Dawson.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate that. What do you guys do during the year, Chad, when you look at not just the new, I understand that you started looking at this when you're building new schools, and I'm talking about the traffic that piles up at these schools because Johnny can't ride the bus. But, what do you do at these existing schools? Do you look at that during the year? How do you guys evaluate when too much is too much?
Well, it happens throughout the year, just like y'all. We get the same calls that you do where they complain because we're stuck out in the road or that kind of thing. So what we've done on a year-to-year basis is the gravel type things to minimize the pain. We'll put some gravel on a site and extend a parent drop-off lane. That's how we kind of get by. But another example is when we get the complaint, we look at, did we already fund a new school? For instance, Oak Grove, we got that complaint for the past 2 or 3 years. We've had that complaint about the traffic on the road in front of Oak Grove. The Bullion project is under construction and set to open. And what that process does, it takes 500 students out of Oak Grove and sends them across the street. So we'll have 500 less families trying to get into Oak Grove. So we didn't do a gravel deal at Oak Grove. We made some adjustments to how they run the flow on the site, but we basically asked the principal to do the best they can to get them in and out quick. We ask for help from the sheriff's department when necessary, and we do gravel extensions throughout the year. But what we have more is a plan of building new schools to overcome the growth. As we experience the growth and a school becomes overcrowded, we buy the property and build the school and then split the school, which in our view disseminates the traffic. So a school that had 900 is about to have, say, 600, and 300 or 400 will go to another site nearby, more closer to their home. So the schools that we have under construction, we hope will relieve the traffic at the schools that they're relieving.
So has that really happened? So you've had these schools and you've divided the enrollment in half? Or
Yes,
has
sir.
the existing schools, have their enrollment stayed up too?
The most recent one we did, it was tough. It didn't work out like as well as we wanted. We typically,
When you
like to
say it
have
didn't work
600.
out, you mean it didn't, you still had more students than what you,
we had 1,100, I
Anticipating.
think, in Oak Grove and 900 in Prairieville. So the split on that, it took about 500 out of Oak Grove and maybe 200 out of Prairieville. So by the way the district lines worked out. So Oak Grove is going to be very well relieved traffic-wise, but Prairieville less relieved, 200, but, we would have liked to have gotten 300 out.
so, Mr. Chair, I'd like to recommend that, and really Taft and Chad, if they would cooperate with this, that we set up some type of committee, joint committee between either some council members and the school board administration and the school board itself, and if President Matassa's willing to participate, then we have somebody from the administration, but have a maybe not too large a committee, but one that's representative and is able to look at these things and maybe come up with some recommendations, for both of us.
Yeah, we want to be part of the solution. I mean, on our new schools, we do the traffic study and we build the turn lane, and I believe it does help because, we do take a large number of students out of the overcrowded schools and move them to the new school. That's about to happen for Oak Grove and Prairieville in the next couple of months. But on the older schools that were built prior to, all the
Yeah.
growth, that's the ones that I see on my list. They're getting worse and they need to be addressed, so.
course, I'm old as dirt, but I didn't have a choice about getting that yellow bus.
Councilman Lambert?
Just one other thing, Mr. Chairman. And that was one other thing, wanted to get with the president on to see there was a safe road fund. Maybe Miss Martha Collins can work on that also with, Chad and them. I know there's some monies out there to maybe try to do something with that. But in the end, talk to the sheriff, and there's no way he can police all of these sites. But the next step would be, when we get no parking signs in front of these homes and driveways, he can enforce that. So I don't want it to come to that, but that is one of the things. If we meet 90%, I think it's 95%, Mike, is that correct, on the signatures? We have to put the no parking signs in front of these houses. And quite a few people have contacted me, and that's what they want to go to next. But I think we can beat this if, we show them that we're meeting monthly, and maybe the committee, we can get something out of this fairly quick. So at least we're looking for something for the next school year before we get started.
So I'll make that a motion to form this committee, begin the formation of that committee.
Okay. I'd like to make a recommendation that we also include the sheriff and the administration, a representative of the sheriff's office, and a representative of the administration in the
I
committee.
said administration.
Okay, I wasn't sure if the sheriff's also.
I didn't say the sheriff, but I'm all for him.
Kenny has something too.
Yes, Mr. President.
The Safe Roads to School didn't have, it wasn't that much in there. It was like sidewalks and stuff like that, widening the road for school buses, which we do have roads that are too narrow for two buses to cross, but it didn't have like turn lanes and stuff in it, in that specific grant. So, but we will look, we work with Chad on anything that comes up, and we'll work with him on looking at solutions.
Great. Without moving past this agenda item, we'll go through this motion first, though. I would like to ask that maybe y'all would return next meeting, which is the second Monday of the month, I believe, with maybe a recommendation for 2 representatives of the school board, and we'll have 2 representatives of the transportation committee. And we'll have somebody from the sheriff's office and maybe somebody from the administration, so we can put something together, if y'all would like to do that.
I'll be glad to come back.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get another member involved in it, we'll come back.
Okay, and we'd also have to, like, Mr. Lynch involved.
Oh, yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Oh, yeah.
No offense to board members, but I want the guy with the knowledge.
He's got the list.
Okay, good deal. I have a question. Bouillon Crossing, I know it's a brand-new school that y'all been working on real hard. What about the back of that? I know there was some talk about it leading into Swamp Road. Was there any discussion on that?
You remember when the subdivision was approved, the developer applied to connect to Swamp, and it was denied. So currently, what happened when the development built out is there were traffic improvements made on Airline Highway to include a J-turn and some turn lanes and a J-turn, and some traffic lights. It's my understanding those were all built by the developer prior to us building the school. There's talk of that right now. The subdivision they contacted me while I'm out there building the school site. My staff, they contacted us, and they want to know, they're worried. So that is going on right now. The way it was left is the development has a piece of property that does connect to Swamp, but that was not approved for a paved connection. So right now, it's not paved. It just has a gate on it, and we have a letter that was given to us, I think, by Planning Commission that allows us to use it as an emergency only for, letting school out if the roads were blocked. That's the current state of it. The discussions I've had with the staff, the parish government staff, were with Mr. Enlow, and I told him that the residents were asking me about it. He suggested that he get some traffic counts as it is today, so that he bases his decision on data.
Okay, great.
So that's what I know right now.
Do we have any further questions? Gentlemen, thank you. We look forward to seeing y'all next month.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next item, item number 7, department report. Before we get to Mr. Enlow, we have some public speakers. First, we have Mr. Nelson Morvan. Would you like to speak? Yes.
Good afternoon. I live on Taylor Plessis Road, 14467, and I wanted to talk about the planned road widening. I don't know, I have a handout, I don't know if you could see that or not on the screen, but I just wanted to point out.
Oh.
You turned it off.
30 minutes.
The road, Taylor Plessis Road, which you can see. Anyway, the road is 5,419 feet long for the planned, from 621 to Duplessis Road. What I wanted to point out is, if you look at that picture closely, and what do you see all around that subdivision, that area? You see planned subdivisions that everybody in here is talking about, no net fill and all the things. So we have a very unique area there. So the idea of widening the road and moving 1 mile of utilities to widen the road just doesn't seem to fit with the road in the area, because we don't have that much property to give on either side. And I personally think that it's a waste of taxpayers' money to move utilities. I also looked at the traffic ordinance. In that road is supposed to be 25 miles an hour, not 30. So I'm proposing, why don't you put stop signs at Nona Lee and Golden Meadow, and put some on Duplessis Road to slow people down as traffic calming activities. Because it costs a lot of money to take and widen that road as proposed and move it west. And I just find that, people spend a lot of money, and neighbors that character the neighborhood, the Bayou Godine, which is a tributary of New River, which runs through there. It makes it a really nice place. So you widen that road and you got to start tearing the trees down on both sides. Now, some people do, but I don't have a lot of front yard. I don't want to see unfortunately, my front yard taken up by a street. So that's what I want to point out. So if you look at the map, like I said, you see it's different from the other areas, and it's very historic, and it's been there for a long time. Like it is, I think it's perfectly fine. If you're worried about safety, widen the road a foot on each side, stripe it, make it 11. I mean, if you did some drainage work and filled in the ditches on both sides, you may be able to widen it enough to get in its present position to get what you want. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morvant.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Jamie Thompson. Would you like to speak? It wasn't marked. Yes.
Hello, Jamie Thompson. I live on Taylor Duplessis, on the east side, I believe. And I'm here because a month or so ago, we were told that they were thinking about widening Taylor Duplessis. I came to the last council meeting. They said they were going to send it back to transportation. I believe that reason was because the residents did not know about this. We really don't know much of the planning of it. Some of us have talked to one of the engineers. He's sent each of us individual plots of our houses and how it's going to affect us. I currently have a 12-foot servitude. He did tell me that they're planning on taking up to 20 feet now instead of the 12 feet, so they're adding 8-foot servitude. But they're only widening the road on my side 1.5 feet of pavement. So why another 8-foot of servitude when you're only widening the road of 1.5 feet? I don't understand that. I guess I don't have to, but I would like a public meeting with the people that plan this and the residents. I know the residents have gotten together and had a meeting, all of us together. That was really great. We were able to tell them hearsay because we don't have an exact plan. So we really don't know. Everything is basically hearsay. And every time we ask, one resident asks a question, they get a different answer. So we just don't know. Another main huge concern of mine is, and I don't mind them widening at 1.5 feet at all. I don't want them taking another 8 foot of servitude in my property because I'm not very far off the path anyway. So I really don't want that. But another huge issue with me is if you widen it and you make it a really nice road, people are of course going to speed, and they do anyway now. So, you know, I've got kids, all my neighbors have kids, young kids, old kids. It's really, please, you know, think about that going forward, about the safety. Yes, I understand that a wide road is really nice. I have a camper, I have a boat. It is a lot better to have a wide road, I promise you, because I back my camper up into my driveway. So it's nice, but would I rather safety or would I rather have a little bit more difficulty backing in my camper? I would rather safety for my kids, and it take me a couple extra minutes to make the right turn to back up my camper. So please, please think about that. Think about the safety. You know, I know everybody else has something to say, so I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Thomas Surpass, I'm not sure if you want to speak. It's not marked. No?
He's in opposition. Is that correct? Red card.
But it just wasn't marked speaking or not. Let's see, we have a couple more. Okay, Miss Kristen Smith.
Hi,
Thank you.
thanks for hearing us again. We did have a meeting with our residents on Tiggy Duplessis. We had about 35 people show up to our meeting, and it was something really quick. We got, St. John allowed us to have the meeting over there, and we have a lot of people signed. A lot of people at the time, we told them it was going to be an information meeting. So I called the engineer, got as much information from the engineer, and the engineer gave me information which I related to all our residents. What I'm finding out now, we urged them to call him. He said it was okay. Get your plan for in front of your house. Now, what he told me was it was going to be no more than 5 feet. Maybe one person had 10 feet that was going to be taken from them. Everybody's getting their plans, and it's a lot more than 5 feet. So we have people that were signed up and said they were undecided, but I think after they got those engineering plans are not for this road. So one thing for me is I want to wait to do this road when you're putting sewer pipes in. That's coming. This parish cannot do without sewer. We can't keep having sewage going into the ditches. That's going to happen. So what they need to do is start prioritizing things like do 621, widen 621 so it can flow into the interstate that we're getting ready to have 3 lanes to go into Baton Rouge. So that needs to be done first. 621, take our money, put it on 621. Help that 621 get the flow onto the interstate. Also, you could take the money and you could put the money on an off-ramp from I-10. I just spent 25 minutes trying to get off the interstate to get on 73 to go make a detour because 621's done, is torn up with the bridge. So it's important that we take the money and start prioritizing things. Where is the flow going? Do those roads first. Why are you going to pick on a neighborhood road? We need to sit there and we need to widen. We had no outreach, which is frustrating to me and to a lot of us. No outreach. Our council person is our outreach person. That's who should be contacting us. Again, we want stop signs. Please consider stop signs on Tiggy Duplessis at Nona Lee and Golden Meadow and again down Duplessis. That would slow people down. That would slow people down for sure. And we need to stripe Tiggy Duplessis. So to wrap it up, put the money on another project right now. Let's prioritize things and get our flow, where our flow is going. Let's get 621 done, get the off-ramps done, and let's move Ascension forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Suzanne Setoun?
Good evening. Basically want to echo what everyone else had mentioned earlier. One thing would be about the stop signs. That would help the flow of traffic, to slow the traffic down, I should say. It is like a raceway. There are multiple cars that continuously race one another. Some young kids with Mustangs, they're out there almost every night. And literally, it's a race. And they have no idea what's down that road on the other end, but one day, somebody's going to get killed. And unless there's stop signs or something that's done, whether it be the police out there to, to monitor, I know they do it during the hours up to 5 o'clock. They're not there after 5, which is between 5 and 7, it is a raceway. And I know you guys are trying to do this for safety purposes. I'm not sure that widening this road is going to be the answer to that. I think it's just going to create people knowing that it's a cut through. They have that opportunity to shoot on across, and they don't feel it's monitored. It's not a big highway, so they don't expect police officers to be there, and they're just blowing through. It's ridiculous. But also to reiterate the miscommunication that we've received. We did receive the site plans. I live on the corner almost to Duplessis Road on Tiggy, and just one house off. My house supposedly is the last house where the road will be widened. I have a very deep lot. They were saying it was going to be 20 feet. It's really more like 26 feet based on the drawings. And it's supposed to be the end. So that means that my neighbor's house, who's also on Tiggy, that it's going to funnel in to a V. I don't understand how this is even going to happen. If my house is widening to 26 feet and then the rest of the road off of my driveway is not being widened, it doesn't make sense. There's no way that can be correct information that they're passing on. So we need to, if it's going to be something that you guys are strongly considering, then we need to have another meeting to really understand what exactly is going on, because we don't have the full picture. I think that was pretty much it. Yeah, that's basically it. That if this is being done for safety reasons, that thought needs to be reconsidered. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ted, it looks like Douglas, I may be mispronouncing it, does not wish to speak, but is not in support. And Mr. Christopher Bradley does not wish to speak and is not in support. Ms. Shannon Levine?
Hi, thanks for giving us time again here. So we were here last month, and as others mentioned, we had covered, many of our points and have met since. Just a couple of extra points or additional points to reiterate. Basically, I'm of the same opinion that I was whenever we came over last time. The several points to mention are liability. So we've heard about liability here. And in my opinion, liability, yes, for the safety of those traveling the road, widening the road, to make it a safe road may benefit those individuals. However, those living down the road and those that are, currently outside and such, it'd just be a shift of liability, we feel, okay? So that's one thing that we'd like for you to take into consideration. Another around the aesthetics of the road. There was points made about residents and being able to weigh in on the aesthetics of the road and such. However, we do care about the aesthetics of our yard. Trees, as mentioned before, would have to be removed. And whenever I stand out there and I see the 27 feet from the current pavement that the servitude is going to go back, that's a big change for us. We care about those things, people that live down there. We bought the house, bought the property for a reason, okay? We use the mowed roast. I know you've heard some of these points. We use the road most, so we are currently traveling the road. We're comfortable with the road. With all due respect, I just don't see I don't get it, the point of us trying to widen this particular road, okay? I get the analysis. I understand how it was done. as far as car counts and such, but I just am not of the same opinion as to the sense that it makes for, spending money to do this. And lastly, the road still isn't striped, okay? My point in that is that, once we go forward and say, yes, we're ready to, we agree with you, if we were to say that, okay? How are we to know that the plan's gonna go forward just as it is today? So those are the few points that I want to leave you with. If you could consider that, greatly appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And Jenny Bradley.
Good evening. My name is Jenny Bradley. I'm also a resident of Tiggy Duplessis, and I am of the same feelings as my other residents. I do not feel that the parish should be promoting Tiggy Duplessis as a cut-through street. It is a pure residential neighborhood. I do realize it is a nice cut-through street, but I think widening the road will just promote it as such. The 30-mile-an-hour speed limit is safe if for two vehicles traveling. The speeds at which the cars travel now, maybe the road isn't wide enough for that. But I think we need to concentrate our efforts on, slowing the traffic flow through that area. Also going to be losing a nice oak tree on one of our properties. And so I think that aesthetics, as Shannon had mentioned, plays a big part in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are several other speakers that have signed up for item number 8. However, I think they may be item number 7. I'm going to read your name. If you'd like to speak on number 8, let me know. But Hamid Zogby, would you like to speak on number 7 or 8? 7, I think so also. I'll let you. Call it women's intuition. I got it.
So I live on Tiggy Duplessis. My name is Hamid Zogby. I am an engineer. I am a civil structural engineer. I have a master's degree in engineering license in both the state of Louisiana and Texas. So I really appreciate the work that parish is doing in making the road safe, trying to make the road safe, and appreciate the detail going into planning such a project, especially when you are widening or planning to widen road where there's existing properties and stuff like that. So my point is nothing new that one was said before, but I want to reiterate that. I think the safety is very important, and we all need that. However, there is currently a lack of knowledge of this project. Everybody is getting pieces of information that are not consistent. So what was said before, if there is a way that we can have a meeting to understand the whole scope of the project from start to finish, what is planned, what are some alternative design methods that can be applied to minimize the impact on the existing homeowners, because in my section the current plan is pretty significant. It's the right of way going from current 50 feet to nearly 100 feet. So it's not 2 feet or 3 feet or 5 feet. It's pretty significant. So I would like to know more about it. I'd like to know how it can be probably designed in a different manner. And also, I want to say that 621 being a cut road is not going to solve the problem. It's been said before. Tiggy Duplessis being a cut road is not going to solve the problem. The problem is on 621. So if the parish and the state can work together to use taxpayers' money to really take care of the bottleneck, I think we'll all benefit from that. And lastly, I think, before I say yes or no to this project personally, I'd like to know, as I said, a little more about it.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Ms. Karen Duplessis, would you like to speak?
Hi, Karen Duplessis. I live at 14261 Tiggy Duplessis Road in Tiggy and Thelma's home. That was my father that was killed right in front of our driveway. The speed limit was 30. There was some speed bumps put up, but now it's a freeway. I'm almost scared to go get my mail at times. They come down there, there's no such thing as 30 miles an hour, it's 50 plus. If you widen that road, it'll be even more of a raceway. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hung Tran, does not wish to speak, but is present and is not in support. Mr. or Mrs., I'm not sure, Dane Caro does not wish to speak and is not in support. And Ms. Shealy Bell, would you like to speak? Yep. Welcome.
Sheila Bell, y'all all know me. Thank you, gentlemen, for what you do. You do a great job, and we appreciate all the hard work and all the extra hours. Believe me, we know how this is. And I'm in support, of course, of not having the road widened because of the speedway. As you know, my daddy got killed by speedway, that's my sister Karen. And it's a speedway, and I agree with her. I have to watch and be careful when I cross the road to go get my mail, at whatever time, because they will not slow down. We even wave them down, and they give us choice fingers sometimes. So anyway, that's just not cool. So if y'all can think about that and give us more information on what it is that you want to do, I think, will be more accepted or not with that. But thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. I want to thank you for the work you do, by the way, with the band. I know a lot of us have had children that have either been through it or going towards it right now, and it's a lot of fun. That's all the speakers that we have. Thank you all very much for your participation.
Mr. Chairman, can I?
Yes. Councilman Todd Lambert.
This is part of my district. I share this road with Doc Satterley. Got a couple of questions for Mike, but first of all, the road will be getting striped this week or the beginning of next week if everything goes to plan. So the road will be striped. And one other thing, one of the comments was talked about, putting culverts in the ditch and closing it up. Well, again, somebody mentioned sewer also. We would have to have sewer in place in order to do that, because the state will not allow us to tie trunk lines into a culvert without a sewer system. So that wouldn't be feasible until we get sewer system in the parish, which we are working on it, but it could be a little timely venture, As far as the widening road, Mike, I'd like to know who actually put this road on the list to widen, and where did the history of the widening project come about? Because it didn't come from either councilman to say we want Tiggy widened. Right. It came from administration or a safety program, and I'll let you explain.
Yep, so I'll answer that, and I wanted to touch on the sewer and the striping, so I'll circle back around. But what we did with HNTB is we have used our prioritization tool, which basically just takes some percentages of criteria and we weight those factors and come out with these roads. So one of the biggest is your average daily traffic, and I think in 2017, Tiggy was somewhere around 7,000 plus cars a day traveling on Tiggy. Crash data is another one that plays a big factor, and not just the ranking of the road in the crash data system, which the CRPC keeps track of. It is the types of crashes, the conditions surrounding them, what's going on, head-ons versus side swipes versus just running off the road, alcohol, impairment, these types of things. Tiggy had the highest side swipe count with no alcohol as far as the data that I saw in 2017. So that means it tells us that there's a lot of traffic and there's a lot of side swipes, whether it be buses. I didn't delve that deep into the criteria, but those factors we put into we call it a prioritization tool, and kind of comes out with what's going to give us the best bang for our buck and to safeten up some of these roads. I can understand some of the folks that live on the road, probably all of them are fed up with speeders. I think everybody, not just in our area, but everywhere, gets tired of people speeding down the road. It is designated as an urban collector, and that was by DOTD's classification. They took away the suburban collector designation, which I feel is more suited towards Ascension Parish roads, and they took that away and just have rural and urban. So we weren't enough into rural, and they gave us an urban designation. That sets some of the criteria for how you design your roadway. So how much what's the clear zone requirement for a road that's designed at, I think we designed it at 35 miles an hour, and we're going to post it at 30 or less than that. But you design it for a certain criteria. You look up what are the dimensions you need for clear zone requirement, and it shoots out what you need. So we purchase, including the drainage servitude and utilities to relocate. We purchase that amount of right-of-way. And then sometimes the right-of-way line is an imaginary line in people's yard. We just ask that nothing permanent gets installed into that area. So that's kind of the reasoning for going out so wide. Part of the plan is to put in enough footage, if we go and purchase it now, to include the sewer line in the future. So that's part of what we're doing programmatically. We're buying a few extra feet on each of our projects so that we don't have to go pay the soft costs of purchasing land again from somebody. Do it now, and then we have it for the future. So we did put some thought into sewer. I don't know if I answered your question about the criteria there, but.
And we had, it's just, we had different design plans, and while we wasn't transparent with the design of this road to the residents that asked for it, because I had several of them call me saying they were looking, wanted to see the design, and no one would, present it to them or, tell them where they could locate it, which I haven't seen it myself, as far as the complete design of it. It might not be completely ready, I'm not sure.
Right. We typically don't brief anyone, any of the general public on any of the designs we have ongoing for various reasons. There's right-of-way needs. You can't speak with anybody on right-of-way if a federally funded project is ongoing about where you place the road. We're not hiding anything, but it's all typical stuff. And I think as it fell with this scenario, because we didn't have any public outreach and any meetings, which we very much would have liked to have had to help give a little more quell some of the feelings that they have about this road and some maybe the misconceptions. So we would love to have that, but the designer, we're paying the designer to design the road for the parish, and as it is now, I think that the design engineer spent quite a few hours additional speaking with folks, and I think they're getting great information. But we just haven't we don't plan to put out consistent design plans at 30, 60, and 90%. We can get into final design and maybe set up another meeting to kind of discuss all this stuff. But it's pretty typical stuff. I will mention part of the reason that it may seem like a lot of land is being used isn't necessarily for the road, but for the drainage ditch alongside the road. I don't know if you guys could name me one road that has hydraulically designed ditches, but I can't name one right now. And what we're trying to do is go to a 25-year event storm water capacity on all of our roads that we touch. It's supposed to be a 10-year. I don't think most of them are 10-year. They're whatever you can fit inside the existing right-of-way, okay? And so with the type of design we're doing, 3-to-1 back slopes, 4-to-1 fore slopes. Every foot you go in elevation, you have to go 12 feet to get those slopes. So in some properties, you have 2 feet at the invert, and that of course is 24 feet, just right there from top of ditch to top of ditch. So that's some of the reasons why it's a little wider in some places. Some residents have existing culverts, and what we're making a practice of, and this is typical, DOTD does this as well, whatever's the existing condition, puts back existing conditions. So if they have pipes in the ground, they're whatever, a 10-year design, or maybe it's a 25-year. If we're going out further and we need to purchase it and take that up, we put it back at the 25-year storm, put the driveway back, catch basins, all that kind of stuff.
So is that the reason I'm hearing some right-of-ways were 5, some were 8, some were up to 25, I think I heard?
I would imagine that's a lot of it. Councilman, I couldn't say 100% on each scenario of why. I know there's a little slight curve in one section, and utilities play a big part.
And how close to any structure will we actually get to with the ditches?
I couldn't tell you. I'm sorry. I just couldn't. I couldn't be sure. I mean, Roddy Road's a lot tighter than Tiggy
Right.
Duplessis for sure. Henry's a lot tighter.
And Roddy Road has the 4-to-1 pitch, like you, the
Same.
25-year.
Yes, sir.
The ditches that's already, the two widening projects that's.
Yes, sir.
Taking place already.
Yes, sir.
So that's the kind of ditches you're looking at, pretty
Right.
much.
And-
Might not
and-
be quite as deep, but.
Right.
Depends on the elevation.
Right, it's the nature of this topography. If
Right.
if it goes from a foot to 6 inches downstream, then we have to work with that. So
Yeah.
the other thing I want everybody to understand about this road design, it's two 11-foot lanes, okay, and 2-foot paved shoulders, and then your ditches are sloped down from that. So what you have is a recoverable driving section. So if someone does go off the road, they can recover. But however they're going to drive off the road or wreck, it's recoverable, I guess, what I'm trying to say. So it's a safer road. We are instructing the designer to come back to us with some traffic calming alternatives. We do not want the typical traffic calming, which is rumble strips, especially not in an area with homes around it. We don't think they're as effective as some of the newer types of traffic calming. We're asking them to bring some ideas to the table, and we're going to put that into the design, so that'll be done if this road gets approved to move forward on. Stop signs.
That's what I want to ask you about. I know the
Yeah.
staff is not
Yeah.
too favorable of going with the three-way stops
Right.
or speed reduction, because.
That's right.
Maybe explain what.
Yeah, Tacey may be able to explain it. I think she reads the AASHTO standards in her free time, but the stop signs really don't a stop condition. People learn the routes, and they're going to know why the stop sign's there, and they're going to just avoid it. So, yeah, speeders, because people don't care. So same speeders are going to run through the stop signs. They may slow down a bit, but they kind of cause confusion to some drivers as well, and there's more accidents, I guess, is what I'm understanding is why they're more unsafe. You have more accidents at stop signs, typically.
So the big reason for the road is safety.
Yes, sir.
And not only for the drivers, but I think the homeowners, wouldn't you think, far as getting to their mailboxes, they have a shoulder instead of them being right on the edge of the road?
Yes, sir, absolutely. And, you know, we've heard from a lot of the school bus drivers as well. They're really excited about this. Henry Road, I think one of them hugged me. Because I mean, it's just, it is, you know, it's coming from a police jury, and as we progress, this is just kind of what happens. I don't think it's anybody's fault. It's just, this is how these roads are, and we're trying to bring them back up to standard.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
years
just
ago
standard.
in the old Polish Jury Day, they didn't realize this Central Parish was gonna be where it's at today, for
Sure.
sure. And
That's correct.
they didn't buy a lot of right of way and built the roads narrow
That's
back in the
correct.
day.
That's correct.
I live on Roddy. I can remember when it was gravel road, and it's,
Yep.
you know, we finally getting a widening. That's a major throughway right now,
Right.
you know, and it's only 35 miles per hour, but their speeding definitely goes.
And I would encourage Ms. Smith and everyone else who wants to see 621, myself included, to call your state representatives, call the governor's office. It's a state road.
Yeah, we wish we could put the money on the state highway, but it is a state highway, and there's funding, state funding, and there's parish funding, and.
We'd love to do it.
That one's in the MPO already, from Airline to 73 to have that 4-lane.
Right, right, and we put it in the master transportation plan recently, so it's an obvious thing. It needs to be done.
That's all the way out to 30 also is another one.
Yes, sir. The striping, I wanted to make mention to, Tacey's going to mention it, but since you asked, we took a little while. First of all, we did an in-house thin lift overlay on that road because the state was going to stop 621 and redo the bridge there. And so we knew there would be some people detouring down that road before they learned new traffic patterns, so we wanted to make sure it was somewhat safe. And we really would like to get the striping done sooner, but we were trying to come up with a plan to do some traffic calming type striping. There's different methods you can use to kind of play with the psyche of the drivers, and that's what we've been working on. I think we just got a handle on it today, and she's been notifying the contractor, and they're going to start hopefully this week, beginning of next. So anyway.
Hey, Mike, is there any way from now, and we put this back on the, we're not in a rush, right? This road is not like happening right away, so can we
Correct.
put it back on the transportation, Chairman, and maybe meet with some people, and talk to them about the design, just what we know of it, and kind of explain to them what's happening, so they can have more understanding of what their road's gonna look like.
Right, absolutely. We did realize, I wanted to mention this as well, we realized some savings from the 2018 program management consultant task order. And so what we're doing is going to redirect some of the funds that we came in under budget, I suppose is what I'm saying. We're going to redirect some of those funds to.
Wait, say that again?
We came in under budget. So.
Thank you.
It's because I worked most weekends, Councilman, so. Now,
So we already have a certain amount of money invested in this.
so we're going to put it towards some public information outreach. We're going to plan, we want to do some, we want to get that website a little more easier to read and more information. That's kind of something we've done in-house, and it's been updated by myself as much as I can, but we want to do some things that are a little better, and then drive people to that website, do a lot of online stuff, of course, and then have some meetings with the folks along the project routes, and then maybe do some more programmatic stuff. But everything takes money to do with these types of things, so that's what we were lacking, and so we fully intend on doing that. So to answer your question, I'm for it if you guys are for it. You know.
That's what, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, we can put it as a motion if we need it.
To bring it back to?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can, but I
I'll
don't.
make that motion, we bring it back, and in the meantime, try to get the design to as many, folks. You can either call myself or Mike, and we'll set up some meetings at the office, and we can meet several at a time, or however many y'all want, we can.
Yeah, we can meet at St. John, like Ms. Smith
Yeah.
organized.
Or government office, we got a.
Yeah,
Conference room
absolutely.
big enough to meet, and maybe give the design, lay it out, and that's where, everybody, I don't want everybody to be on the blind side of how this project's gonna be, if we can show it to them and.
Right.
Improve, that it's definitely gonna help safety, and I know speeding, like you said, even with the speed bumps on Tiggy DePlessis, it didn't slow the speeding down. I talked to several residents, and they said the motorbikes were using them for ramps and just, sailing over them, and then the speed bumps got tore up, and then we started having car issues and, liability to the parish. We spent quite a bit of money repairing vehicles.
Yeah.
One quick thing.
Yeah.
Councilman Lambert?
I've been trying to find it here, Mike. I know what percentage on these roads are we before you hit final? I've been, what percentage you own, the engineers on
the
Tiggy
design.
DePlessis now?
We've approved 70%, they're working on 90%, but because of these last couple of meetings, we met last week and decided to change some things. Ray's here with Meyer Engineering, but I think they're working on 90%, Ray, is that correct? 60, okay, I apologize, 60% final is what they're working on right now.
60%? Well, you're a little over
So,
halfway, so
yeah.
you're all right, yeah. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Just so the public knows, between Duplessis and Tiggy Duplessis, we've spent 1.4 million on, I think that's right. Is that bad math?
Yeah, it's bad math. It's
Over
1.2, I believe.
Yeah, 1.2 million, a little bit off there. But that, on design and engineering costs.
Right. And I do want to, make mention, similar to a previous project.
Tiggy and
DePlessis.
Both of them.
When you take over a project, or if you stall the design of a project like this, any amount of time that it's left on the shelf, everybody talks about shovel-ready projects. They don't talk about the effort needed to go back and go field verify some of the surveying. If you have a different designer come in and take that design, it's not one size fits all. You have liability concerns for the designer. I think Councilman Dawson, you understand that. They have to stamp and seal it. So it's not something you just shelf and pick back up, and it's no cost. So a little bit of money involved if we stall the project, but at the same time, I'm talking now a couple of years. So hopefully we can get this resolved. If not, we go from there. But
So if you need a second, I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
How do you want this to record this? Because it's not under the department, or is it on the report?
It's under the department report. I mean, I don't know if
It's on the,
because I'm not the best government red tape guy in the world, so we need a little help when we
I
go.
mean, I don't know if it's necessary to have a motion to bring it back. I mean, it's on this department report every
Right.
time. So I don't know if we necessarily need a motion, but.
Well, I think we need to memorialize that we're gonna have these public meetings.
Right.
I think that's what I'm hearing.
Well, we're gonna start having them, but I don't know if we're ready to actually have a public meeting on this yet. Usually have to get to what, is it 90%?
Yeah, typically, I mean,
Only 60%,
Yeah.
so it's.
Well, here's what the motion and the second was to have some public meetings between now and the next.
Right.
Specific to this, because, I mean, that's what almost everybody said here is they don't have the
They don't have a clue
information.
what the project
Right.
is, yeah.
it's definitely doable.
Okay.
We need to work with our program manager to identify what we're gonna have them and their sub-consultant handling the PIO do for us. Part of it is public meetings, part of it's website design, part of it's some other public outreach, but, so we're gonna get started immediately. But, you know, I don't, it's up to you all. If, like Councilman Dawson says, if you guys wanna put something in the motion for the department report, we'll.
So what exactly do y'all want? Do y'all want it?
I mean, even though you're not at 90%, I mean, you can probably have some meetings and give them what you got up to date and let them, and probably let them know where your pinch points are as far as what may change or where your variance at, and answer some of the questions that they have to get them a little bit closer to an understanding of what's coming their way and what they can look forward to as far as acquisitions and different things like that, I would imagine, Mike, which y'all could give them the information on. And once final design comes out, it would always be there to be posted to see what final is. And where you at right now is only 60%, so you know it's presented as such to let them know that this is not finalized yet by any stretch of the imagination,
Yeah, I
but it's
mean,
pretty close.
I mean,
Just get them up to date of where we at right now.
yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, I don't wanna, you know, hate to do this, but I'd say that, you know, not this week for sure, but maybe towards the end of next week, we could have a meeting set up, if not that week, the following week, or maybe that week. I mean, it takes some time to organize. I know Ms. Smith's pretty good about organizing them, so, and we appreciate that. But, you know, we can get that, you know, put out there. There's probably gonna be a lot of other people that are interested in it as well, you know, not just the residents, so we wanna make sure we capture everybody's, input if we're gonna do it, so.
Well, I think you answered a lot of questions, to me you did, about why,
Okay.
you know, why this happened and why this didn't happen. But still, I think that, you know, myself is that we need to explain to people why this is the only design will work, if that's the case. And then, you know, what are we doing about, you talk about the traffic calming, but, you know, if the stop signs don't work, then something else needs to be done. I mean, I'm hearing that, whether you have a widening project or not, you need to have that. And then, myself, and I still don't have this understanding, but you don't have to explain this to me tonight, is why, you know, why we need all that right of way. So, you know, maybe I'd be prepared to answer that question.
Sure.
Let us speak, just, I don't have a problem if you don't.
Well, I want to make sure that Darla understands what the motion is and we're clear. Do you have good reading of it? Okay.
If you want to repeat it, we can watch the video.
No, I don't want to repeat it. Man, would you?
Come up.
Yeah.
This may be a stupid or silly question. If it takes 90% to get, are we talking about to get a public hearing? Or are we talking about getting approval? Because a month ago when we came, it was on the books to be voted on. So I was just kind of confused about that,
Yeah,
that
no.
if it's.
Let me interject. The item last month was something we have to do, as you well know. The governing body has to vote on, and vote for an ordinance to allow the administration to go start the right-of-way acquisition process on the road. So that was what was the item, and it fell out of our purview from last year when we brought a whole group of them to you guys in one night to get done. So it was a red tape, a cleanup, a housekeeping item,
Yes.
if you will. But the design is still at 60%, and we can, definitely have a meeting and do changes if we need to. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so we've got a motion. We have a second. Do we have any opposition? None? So moved.
Okay.
Mr. Enlow, please go on with the report.
I'm going to have Tacey Rabelais come give the report, DPW report.
Good evening. It's pretty quick this evening. While we were talking about Tiggy, I know the question comes up a lot, why can't we just put a stop sign up to slow traffic down? And I have to follow the MUTCD, which is the Manual and Uniform Traffic Control Devices. And the very first thing under multi-way stops is you cannot use stop signs to control, for speed control. So our hands are pretty tied as far as that goes. But that's probably the question I get the most, so I did want to kind of clear that up.
Appreciate that.
And as far as the striping goes, I did talk to the stripers today. I think we've finally decided on what we feel is a decent traffic calming measure just by using striping. So we saw T as a perfect opportunity to kind of experiment with a couple of different traffic controlling efforts. So traffic calming striping. So that's what's taken a little bit, but I think we finally got it wrapped up. Real quick, the 2018 road maintenance program is complete. We came in just under budget. In fact, tonight I have the substantial completion for Task 4 and the master contract. At the same time, I actually just right before this meeting, 2019 maintenance program, I got the cost estimate for the first task. I haven't had time to review it just yet, but I plan to tomorrow morning. And if everything looks good, I'll be writing an NTP and getting them started early next week. While we're on the 2019 maintenance program, on the next page, you'll see a table where we've listed some of the roads that have been identified to be addressed on this contract. We know a couple of the roads that'll be on the first task. We can't go over $1 million per task, so we'll have to kind of figure out which ones to group with each other, I guess, if you will. But we did want to show the estimated cost per road, so everybody could kind of have an idea of what $3 million a year gets us. I know it seems like we don't get a whole lot done with that amount of money, and really and truly, we don't. It costs quite a bit of money to reconstruct a road, and so I just wanted to we just want to list the costs so everybody kind of has an idea. And that's really all I have for the 2019 maintenance program. If you want to take a look at the roads, or if anybody has some roads that they want to discuss, feel free to contact me or Mike.
You can have mine.
Did you look at it?
I'm good. I looked at it earlier.
And if nobody has any questions, the 2019, by the way, 2019 pavement preservation program, actually, the bid's going to be awarded in a couple of days. So next month, we'll have them working, or plan to at least. So if you guys have some roads or subdivisions that you feel might qualify, please let me know or might know, and we'll look at them. The next thing we have is all the state projects. I'll give you all a minute to look through them and let me know if there are any questions, and I'll try to answer anything I have information on. While you're looking at that, if you don't mind, I do want to mention the pavement management report that's right behind the work that they've done. This only captures tasks that have been closed that month. So there might have work that quite a bit of work that they've done, but they haven't completed the project, so it's not reflected in this report. But I did want to mention one of the roads that's on that report, and I think it's Paula Park Road Drive, maybe. We got quite a bit of complaints about it. There were some bad failures in that road, and I want to thank our pavement management group who pulled off of one job to go to this road and address the issues. It was a safety concern, so I did want to call that one out and mention it and thank our pavement management group, Alan Boxcar Bro and all the others. They do a great job for us. So that's really all I have, unless anybody has questions.
That's one quick.
Councilman Lambert, Dempsey Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, and I want to thank you. Reiterate on the park. That's 340 T-ball players. So times 6, that's about 580 cars. You know, it's just not a one-way. You have to enter in one direction and exit on the other. So I really want to thank y'all for taking care of that. The other thing was on the striping, the Bill Morgan Road. Do you have that?
Mr. Rowe did mention that to me. So we follow standards that we have to go by, otherwise would be striping all kinds of roads that really don't need it. One of the standards is it has to be a connector or a through road. Bill Morgan's a dead-end road, so by our own standards, it doesn't qualify. You know, obviously, if there's a special circumstance, you know, we can certainly go by case basis, you know, if it's brought to our attention. So it was mentioned to me, and I didn't mean to discuss that one with you, see if we want to move forward, you know, if you want to move forward with it, there was something going on with it that we really need to stripe for.
Yeah.
So-
We need to move forward on it.
Okay.
I'll talk with you about it.
Okay.
I have a
Thank
quick
you.
question. Thank you. About the hot mix. Did we get the hot mix truck in yet? Do you know?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't seen it or heard about it yet. So, I mean, I have heard about it. I heard that it's coming, but not to my knowledge. I don't believe it's come in. I can get a status on it.
Yeah,
for
I'd like to
you.
get a status of that.
Sure.
So I understand that's a lot better than the cold mix.
Yes, it is.
I
much,
saw we
much
had some
better.
cold mix done here. I'd like to. move on
Yeah,
from that.
they'll still have the coal mix trucks to take care of, because it's going to take a little bit longer for the hot mix to patch potholes. So they'll still have the coal mix making the rounds until the hot mix trucks kind of catch up. As of right now, unfortunately, we don't. The only means that we have to patch a lot of these potholes is with the coal mix.
Okay.
That's the only thing we have a contract for, and just feasibility wise, we have, I think, 2 or 3 people to the patching, you know, the pothole patching crew. So, just the coal mix keeps them really busy. But I'm hoping, like with the new hot mix truck, that'll alleviate a lot of their recurring headaches on, you know, because they do get the same roads that show up over and over and over again. So we're hoping that will, this hot mix trucks will stop that.
Thank you very much. Is that all we have for the, let's see, where were we? Number
Think so.
7, department
And I was
report?
going to mention Tiggy, but I think Mike addressed all of it. Our payment management group, again, did a great job with overlaying that before 621 was shut down. They've been helping us, the parish, out tremendously, so I want to thank them for that again.
Thank you.
But I think Mike addressed most of the Tiggy Plus issues, so.
Okay, great. Do we have any other questions on the department report? Well, we've had the public comment period. If I open up for one person, I have to open up for everybody. We try and keep things orderly. We can always talk after the meeting. Thank you, though. We can talk about it after the meeting. Thank you. Do you want to move on and move ascension?
Yeah. If Jeff can come up, Jeff Burst with HNTB, I want him to dive into this, and I can answer any other questions you may have.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. In front of you, you have your standard Move Ascension briefing update. It's pretty much the same format that y'all have been seeing, just so it stays kind of consistent, draw your eye to some of the things. As you'll know, you'll see a lot of status of design complete percentages, where we are in certain projects with regard to right-of-way acquisition and whatnot. I think Mike kind of hit on a few of those projects as far as where they stand from a project percent complete standpoint. But really, I would like to draw your attention to, actually on the second page, it's the last project before the gray bars, is the LA 930 project. It is just about complete with the redesign. We took, as y'all know, the DOTD plans and did some redesign to them. The cooperative endeavor agreement has been signed and executed by the parish administration and DOTD. The act of transfer has both been signed and recorded in the clerk of court's office. So we should have a fully executed act of transfer for 930 by the end of this week. And accompanying that will be a check to the parish for its first installment of $1.72 million. The remaining $3.22 million will be checks written to the parish in equal installments spread over the next 3 fiscal years. And I just want to remind y'all that that's not the standard DOTD credit road transfer. This is cash. So that's some good news. It's been a little way of time in the process working, but that's now come to fruition.
Can you repeat the amount, please?
2.3.
Overall, it's approximately just shy of $5 million. When they issue us the act of transfer, which was recorded late last week in the clerk's office, we're going to get a check for 1.72. The remaining 3.2 or so is will be dispersed over the next 3 fiscal years, equal installments. So it's right around 4.9 something total.
Right.
I have the exact figure not with me, but I could certainly forward that to y'all. So that was some news we got late last week that I wanted to share with y'all. So looking forward to some other items that are of note, obviously, are potential construction projects. We talk about the asphalt and the orange barrels, that as we're continuing with design, as we're continuing with acquiring right-of-way, we have to do some clearing grubbing. We want to do some projects when we actually putting some asphalt on the ground, but we're also going to be needing to move some utilities, and these are timely efforts, as y'all well know. But St. Landry Connector is a potential one to go by the end of this year to construction. The right-of-way's already been acquired, as you well know, from BASF, and we work with the utility companies and working with the design consultant to eliminate any utility conflicts. So that one would be ready to go. The turn lanes along 73 at Oakland, Brown, and Henry. We are acquiring right-of-way. Design's at 98% complete. We're acquiring right-of-way. And then we've already been in contact with the utility companies that they can ramp up as soon as we give them a notice to proceed. So those can be going to construction by the end of this year, is our game plan on that. And then you see some of the other ones that will depend on right-of-way acquisition and utility relocations. Bro, Germany, design is pretty much complete. We're acquiring right-of-way. Getting the utilities moved, because they have several double bank Entergy lines out there that are costly and timely to move. So getting them moved out of the way in time will dictate whether we let it at the end of this year or the very first of next. But that's another one that's ready to go. And then, of course, you see some intersection improvements on Roddy at Norwood and Merritt Evans. And then the Seabro widening. Again, we've just begun right-of-way acquisitions. All title reports are complete. All appraisals have been ordered, waiting to receive those so that negotiations can begin. And that's 16 parcels along Seabro, of which very minimal, because most of the widening is to the south. We have one small fiber line on that south side and a couple of crossings, both gas and fiber, but we believe are currently, and the utility companies are confirming this for us, deep enough that they can remain. So that one can go to construction pretty quickly after we acquire the right-of-way. But also while that's going on, as soon as we finish acquiring the right-of-way, we have several clearing grubbing projects that can be let to construction by the end of this year. And that's two clearing grubbing projects along Roddy Road, from Airline Highway all the way to 621. That's two separate segments that you'll notice, because the right-of-way on the northernmost segment from 935 to 621, we only have two outstanding remaining parcels to acquire. One's going through a succession right now, and then one we're still negotiating. 930, as I said, we have just now received, or will receive this week, hopefully, the active transfer for 930, plus the check from DOTD. They have already acquired, using state House Bill 2 bond money, all 81 parcels, so all the right-of-way is acquired, and that will be ready to be let. And the clearing, grubbing, design plans are at 95% complete. And then 929 and 930 roundabout, which a lot of times for a roundabout, you may not want to break out a separate CNG project, but both southern quadrants are heavily wooded, and it will take some utility relocation, so it's in our best interest to clear that first. So there should be a lot of activity going on, not just before the end of the year, ramping up, but full board all through next year. I mentioned a lot about the right-of-way acquisition, but you see here, St. Landry's already complete, Babin is complete, 98% are complete on the northern section of Roddy, and that's combined about 122 parcels. And then, of course, we're underway with every other project. Utility relocations, I mentioned a lot of those already. The ones we're about to jump on right now are right along Highway 73, those three intersections that I mentioned, and there's going to be some real quick hits so we can get to construction pretty quickly. And then you'll see several roundabouts that we're going to be trying to move utilities on as we go. We're working with our subconsultant Elos Environmental, we're acquiring all the core permits. That's all going smoothly. We have a lot of them already, and/or letters of concurrence from the Corps that no permit will be required from them. And we expect all remaining permits by this fall. And then your last page is a graphic that y'all seen several times. I just like to keep it in there because, funding is a critical component of what we're trying to do here with Move Ascension. And this just really compares the annual parish transportation funding of what it has to draw from. And you can see how little that is using the 2/3 of the 1/2% sales tax versus what the parish has done in this administration and through council approval is really taking a big step forward and kind of taking control of its own transportation destiny and doing something that's kind of unprecedented from a transportation standpoint in the parish, and selling the bonds, putting up some reserve funds. But we didn't want to stop there, and working a lot with Mike and his office, working with our partners at DOTD and the CRPC, you see that we've been able to leverage a lot of other funds between impact fees, federal dollars, state dollars, to where now we have a viable program in excess of $60 million here that we have to draw from. And some of these aren't immediate funds. As you'll see, some of these CRPC federal dollars are spread out from the fiscal years of 2020 through 2022, as well as some of these safety funds that we have access to through the DOT, those two roundabout projects. But what that does is allow us to maintain a very sustained and fiscally constrained transportation program over the next few years. So that's the end of my briefing, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you do have.
Councilman Dawson, I know you have questions.
No, I have none.
What?
That's a surprise.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yeah, Germany and, not Germany, Duplessis Road, actually Germany where it hit 61.
Yes.
When is that project gonna actually get kicked off? Because that was supposed to be done prior to the subdivision.
Design is just about complete.
Okay.
And we're beginning to acquire right-of-way right now. 6 of the 8 parcels we have to acquire, offers have already been made to the property owners.
Okay.
So we're in negotiations right now. After that, we're working with utility companies to get them in the queue right after the 73 projects to go relocate the utilities that happen to be in conflict. Now, one of the things, because this touches 61, and this has to do with signalization, is DOTD is a player in this, and so they have been very cooperative. We have a meeting with them next week. But when you're dealing with signal design, there's an entire process that, because they're a third-party entity in this mix, we have to include them in it. But they have been working with us, and again, we have a meeting on that very project with the DOTD, with our initial signal design for their review and approval next week.
So timeline, you have any idea when the actual construction is going to take place?
Assuming we get the DOTD permit, as we absolutely expect that we will, I believe right-of-way acquisition will be complete here in the next 2 months, by the end of July. And I believe that utility relocations will follow soon thereafter. And we are looking at about a 90-day utility relocation window, just due to the types that have to be relocated. And we're not talking about a long distance either, but we've already been working with them on a CPM schedule to make that happen. So assuming DOTD continues to move forward with issuing the permit, and that's why I put it as one of the second things, is that job can be let by the end of this year.
You know, because the
Now,
apartments are finished.
And that's, there's a
yeah.
percentage, there's a potential on that, and that, again, it is tied to utility relocations and third-party DOTD permit approval.
Because I thought we had some of that already in the makings, because this was all part of this, you know, we got impact fees actually from the apartments and the subdivisions that were built, and this was supposed to be moving forward.
Right.
Before they actually completed, and they're getting close to completion on everything, and we hadn't started
The,
project.
the impact, the plan that the developer did on this, I think it's the Silver Oaks Apartments, showed a right turn lane. And after talking with Councilman Johnson, it was suggested to look at mimicking the Duplessis intersection across the road. So we did that, and then we got the full amount of impact fees from the developer. And then I think the planning commission put a, whatever you want to call it, a contingency that they can't use that egress onto Germany until that intersection is completed.
Yeah, all of that was something we did to try to mirror the other side of the intersection, as opposed to just coming in and doing a right turn lane. And you got a lot of traffic coming out. People turning left's going to block that up. So you got a perfectly good intersection on the other side with right turn and left turn lanes, and trying to basically mirror that to where the roads meet up better and everything else, make it more aesthetic as well as safer as far as how they intersect. And that was the thought process behind doing that with the money that was coming in from the impact fees and other things. It would just made sense to improve that intersection one time, get it over with.
It was actually a really good suggestion, and it's the study we did show that it was. So I don't want to build you up too much.
Surprised you didn't.
You did. No, you didn't put it. We're moving forward as fast as we can, Councilman Lambert. It's in DOTD's hands right now, and we're finishing up a portion of the design.
Do we anticipate any issues with that? I mean, they got the station on the other side. I mean, all you're doing is mirroring that. I mean, it's just a matter of sequencing it, right?
Right.
That's right. And our signal design consultant has been working and has done a lot of this work with the DOTD before. And the district professional traffic operations engineer for DOTD, Mr. Christopher Ewing, has reviewed this already, is completely behind the project, but it has to go up to their signal design section and headquarters. And again, we have a meeting with them next week, and we're going to walk through all the steps of what else do we need to do with the design, but I don't foresee any problems with it.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a core permit for Ashland? Do we need a core permit for that?
We have it.
And we're ready to go on it?
Yes.
Very good. That's all I want to know. Any other questions? None? Great. I'm going to give you all a chance.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Moving on to item number 8, approve substantial completion for asphaltic concrete reconstruction and overlay improvements 2018 master contract. Tacey Ravelin.
This is pretty much just some housekeeping.
So
We have
moved.
to close out.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any objection? The motion was by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. So moved. Item number 9, approve substantial completion for asphaltic concrete construction and overlay improvements 2018 Task 4.
It's the same thing.
We have a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert and a second by Councilman Benny Johnson. Any discussion? Any objection? None. So moved. Item number 10, approval to declare Freeze Road as surplus.
Yes, this is at the end of Highway 73 where it meets Highway 75. Methanex is doing expansion, and with the new rail spur they had put in for phase 1 of their plant, it took on part of Freeze Road into the limits of their plant confines, I suppose. So what we decided to do is of no use to us now that it's cut off with their plant. So we're having it appraised right now, and we wanted to ask you all to declare it as surplus, so we can.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any objection? None, so moved. Item number 11, adjournment.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. So moved. Thank you all.